Let's see
Okay,
here.
myself.
Let me write that down. Does
I
anybody else
did,
want to
so
sign
I
up
don't
now?
know if it went through. I don't know if it went through, but I don't care because I'm happy to just listen.
Want to sign up, Cindy? Or
Thank you.
okay, I've got
Oh,
Patricia.
hi, Ron.
I've got Leslie. Cindy, are you signing up or is Cindy still here? Oh,
Yeah, she is. Yeah, Cindy.
I'll read.
okay.
Sure. I don't know what, but I'll read.
All right. Okay, let's see. I think we should go ahead and we've got the recording going. I'm going to go ahead and mute the room, and I have to prevent people from unmuting themselves in case Zoom bombers come in. We'll change that later. And view speaker. And all right, we're doing the hosts in a different order today. And I was going to read Mark's bio, but I think Cassandra really wants to. So I'm going to let her go ahead and read Mark's bio now.
Excellent. It's the highlight of my week. That's how sad my week is that I look forward to this. But you all love it, right? So here I go. Mark Vincennes is an Anglo-Swiss American poet, a fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, and musician. He's published 16 books of poetry, including more recently Leaning into the Infinite, The Syndicate of Water and Light, Here Comes the Night Dust, Einstein Fledermaus, and The Little Book of Earthly Delights. Vincennes' newest collection, A Brief Conversation with Consciousness, is forthcoming this fall from Unlikely Books. An album of music, ambience, and verse, Left Hand Clapping, is forthcoming from Tree Torn Records. Vincennes is also a prolific translator. He's translated from the German, Romanian, and French. He's published 10 books of translations, most recently Unexpected Development by award-winning Swiss poet and novelist Klaus Mertz with White Pine in 2018, and which was a finalist for the 2016 Cliff Becker Book Prize in Translation. His translation of Klaus Mertz's selected poems in Audible Blue is forthcoming from White Pine Press. Vincennes is editor and publisher of Mad Hat Press and publisher of New American Writing. He's lived all over the world, joined in from Brazil to China to Iceland to India. He was born in Matilda Hospital on the Peak in Hong Kong, but he now lives on a farm in rural Western Massachusetts, overlooking, you know what it is, Herman Melville's Greylock Mountain, and where, wait for it, there are more, black witches' butters, yellow-orange fly, agarics, and chicken fat mushrooms than people. That's just mean. That's a mean one. Mark, can I get you up to have a chat?
Oh, for sure.
How do I say the agarics?
I don't know.
Oh, so you just put that one on me. That's all right. That's all right. Forgive you.
Well, you got it in advance. You should have practiced it in advance, right?
It's 7 a.m. here. Well, no, it's 8 now, but.
Well, that's true. That's true. Anyway, speaking of which, so this poem is called Endurance. The exploration of the empire, the incumbent flags of endurance. His lordship writes to you out of concern for your personal welfare. A case in point is said to be, in the context of art, a failure for an immured goddess, or perhaps the words are but mere pinpoints on a feeble tenant. The hills are no forgery, your lordship. Now and then a little nonsensical abides, this favor we bestow. Yes, she says, in her affluence. Shall we put them down at the stake? The unlaid mysteries, once time and sex, were tied up in the sandbar of Hades, or upon the bejeweled rocks tiger bright with their clattering of brass bells, or again in the merest of things among the flowers amid the quivering reeds along the embankment in exact observation of the tide. Am I a commuter among the bees, she thinks solemnly? In both this and that other Arcadia, lying under the dew, just one more grand rounds for both the bottle and the few, and under there, where infinitives romp and roam, where there is no feeling of therefore, where the heart's surprise gathers in folds and is pulled into the water, where our good old goddess burns in her welfare. Less difficult and less important, than that demure dance through time, but in both windows we are getting close, and in each of our veins the ascent is more than the mountain. Here, in which we have found the unconditional, that slow, steady, grassy wit, unseasonal, unintentional, unwavering. Come about, come along, sweet whisper. Some summer evening when we are too old to remember this odd thing wrapped in a newspaper, no telephone or telefax, no telemetry or topography, all these people and their possessions, the science by the lake. How might we deflect ourselves in crystal or cut glass? The failure is not in what carries the sky away, bird, beast, or lump, but in the choirs of water that run into the hills in their strange commotions. And I'm now delighted to introduce my fabulous co-host coming in to us from Melbourne, Australia, Cassandra Atherton. Cassandra is an award-winning writer, scholar of prose poetry, and professor of writing and literature in Melbourne, Australia. Her most recent book of prose poems are Pre-Raphaelite, Leftovers, and Fugitive Letters. She's currently writing a book of prose poetry on the atomic bomb with funding from the Australia Council. Cassandra co-wrote prose poetry, An Introduction, and the anthology of Australian prose poetry. She is commissioning editor for Westerly magazine. Love to hear some work from you, Cassandra, today.
Thank you. I have a poem, a prose poem called Navel Gazing, because I really like oranges and I liked the kind of pun there as well. So this one's called Navel Gazing. You peel an orange in one long spiral and trail it over my belly button. Navel orange, I guess, and you tell me it's the sweetest of all. You touch a segment to my neck and I feel the tickle of hairy white pith. You took me to California for the oranges and started building an orangery at the back of our house as soon as we moved in. I don't tell you I prefer Fanta to fresh oranges and artificial sweetener to the stickiness of fresh juice. Once you asked me why I was suspicious of oranges and not strawberries or raspberries, I told you all oranges are Valencias masquerading as navels, and I hate pips. I would like to introduce the wonderful Jonathan Penton. I haven't read his bio for, no, I'm not introducing him. Am I? Yes, I am. We're all like, should I introduce you? Is that all right, Jonathan? I'm reading everyone's bio today. I'm the bio queen today. I'm going to introduce him. In 1998, Jonathan Penton founded unlikelystories.org, an electronic journal of literature and art. Since then, he has lent editorial and management assistance to a number of literary and artistic ventures such as Mad Hat Inc., the New Orleans Poetry Festival, Rigorous, and Big Bridge. In 2005, he founded the brilliant Unlikely Books, which publishes 3 to 5 books of poetry a year. He has organized literary performances and performed himself across the United States. His poetry books are Last Chap with Virgin Press, Blood and Salsa and Painting Rust in 2016, Prosthetic Gods from Newson's Press, Wing City Chapbooks in 2008, and Standards of Sedity with Lit Press. That one's a tongue twister in itself in 2016, and the free e-chap backstories, which you can download from Argotist eBooks. Jonathan, please read us a poem and begin your intrepid ways.
Thank you, Cassandra. So Cassandra and I are working on a haibun project in which we're supposed to, write a haibun, send it to the other, and send one back every week or so, when we average every couple of months or so, something like that. But here's one of those. A haibun being a prose poem followed by a haiku. It wasn't love that kept us warm, exactly, but it wasn't anything carnal or cerebral either. We spent most of those days on the ceiling, which was odd because the gravity was particularly heavy and the floor would pull so strongly. Perhaps we got the ceiling and the floor confused. Perhaps it was the ketamine. No, there was no ketamine. It was hunger. It was hunger and hunger's hangovers, there in the small silent room in the belly of the land that forgot it was a lake. Echoes of drowning, cold sheets with pink skeletons, runny nose sickles. Okay, so we're going to begin this week's Lit Balm program, which I think everybody knows is formatted a little differently than usual. This week we wanted to honor the life and work of my friend Paul E. Sexton III. Paul was a poet and literary organizer in Arlington, Texas, which is a little, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a little sliver of a town between Dallas and Fort Worth. And there in the Dallas and Fort Worth area, he put on just a continuous stream of events, of festival programs, of exciting different poetry gatherings, really. He'd bring in a feature, most weeks someone from out of town, and then he'd have a massive open mic in which people of the community would come and read. It was an incredibly egalitarian thing. And then afterwards, everyone would go across the street to the bar and talk and hang out all night. He did this for so many years and brought so many people to Arlington and helped the careers of so many young poets and emerging poets. And yeah, it's, you know, he supported my work. He supported everybody's work, really. I mean, he's just an incredibly supportive guy. And we just wanted to take some time and appreciate him. And we wanted to do it in a format that we know he loved, an open mic. So that's today. And before we get started, I'm going to read a few of Paul's poems. This is called Between Darkness and Light by Paul Sexton III. Tumbleweed laughter from sugar scarlet sultry lips, red on black and white. It's all gravy for real here, in the wee hours where dark dolls flourish and madmen drool eating their own poems. Twinkling stars, parallel cars, eyelids too far, closed out the bar. Tiny unvoiced fear wisp moments dance upon circumstance, debauching reason darling deliverance. Grail quest Gothic veneration, eating microphones, pining to eat up the stuff of life. Sweet spot femme fatale, it's mad really. Crazy mad, mad like alligator wrestling, mad like Neverland, mad like keyboard desire, mad as if one scream would shatter the crisp, worn edges seen only here in Spiritus Sanctum. If we could only stay here, poised on edge of nights between darkness and light, Hypnos, Morpheus, Somnus, we'd be always unbroken in shamanic sleepness, singing Satori, like the dichotomy of sugared lips, red on black, on white. This is called Bad, Bad Air. Frozen spiderweb cracked moments, sliced, flesh-like off from time, peeled in an instant. Hush, hush, hush as the crowd slips away. Circular. Heartbreak like a thunderclap. Heartbreak like a hand grenade. Unexpected. Strawberry beguiling absolutely no words will lips let slip. I own this moment, just as I own all preceding ones and those that follow. Sobbing upon birded shoulder, deep side eyes of a friend, heavy booted footsteps, bad, bad air. Broken inner child caterwauling, weeping, fisted, steering wheel punch drunk, muffled scream, glass taps. An infinitely heavy dark night sky presses into the chest. Shadows of men, millions upon millions, drive. The continuing on continues unbroken, unspoken. This one's called Take Not a Smile. Let them take the leaves and the grass. Let them take shiny crystal time frames that shimmer like snowflakes in non-moments between moments. Let them take earth and sun and moon. Let them take reason and circumstance and serendipity, leaving only blind fate machines like floating, exploding number membranes. Take everything visible. Take the invisible. Take truth and death and beginnings and sentences that lead only to other winding ones endlessly. Leave me this, though. Leave me a smile and a word spoken. Smoke whisper picturesque rapture. Leave me a smile in dark night, dim light fireflight. Leave me your smile and it will burn in the airways like chemo brushstrokes and spilled atoms with an endless, exquisite delight. And I'm going to read one more. This is a rather dark joke. The lesson death taught me. Things don't manifest based on your intention or your vibration or when you're ready for them or at the right time. Things don't happen for a reason. There is no script, no author to your life story, no karma, no energy. There is no destiny, no fate, no God. No one is testing you. Shit just happens. Terrible shit, beautiful shit, random shit, all kinds of shit. And whether you love that shit or that shit makes you so motherfucking grief-stricken that you can barely stand to live another moment is all based on your point of view. What you desire, what you despise, what you love. If 51 years on this planet has taught me one thing, it's that human beings believe some monumentally stupid shit, projecting all kinds of anthropomorphic characteristics onto the whole of existence itself. I suppose in the end, all the crazy shit that people say doesn't really matter. It doesn't change things one damn bit. It's just exceedingly tiresome on Facebook. Okay, so that was Paul Sexton III, whom we're here to honor today. And we're going to move on to the open mic now. And we're going to start with Bob Heman. Bob's a regular here at Lit Balm, fascinating guy, always brings us fascinating stuff. I'm going to unmute him now. Bob, you want to read a couple poems today? We have time.
Okay. I'll read a few things from my book, Demographics. Hold on, there's something on this. This time the hand is made of clouds. The sky is a huge animal whose breathing has stopped. The climbers, when they arrive, are composed of different colors. One of them has forgotten to attach his lifeline. He's the only one who does not fall. He's constructed from a system made of hesitations. Each time he tries to speak, a different pause emerges to smother his incentive. The hesitations are named after the settlements the river never returned. Music. This was a song the sailors sang, 3 hands on the blood-red sun. This was the song the maidens sang, the shadows cast by the heavy air. This was the song the children sang, 4 fires inside of a single man. This was the song the ancients sang, the fat birds captured by the fox. This was the song the farmers sang, the cave was filled with hungry ice. This was the song the teachers sang, the mushroom rings were closing now. This was the song the artist sang, a woman's outline on the floor. This was the song the rabbit sang, the thread led everywhere. And light. There was light inside of the rabbi's pocket. There was light fastened to the monkey's leg. There was light pasted on the door to the refinery. There was light hidden under the baker's hat. 3 lights were found beneath the priest's cassock. A light that did not work was buried next to the barn. Half a light was drawn by the child with no needs. A new light was rising from inside the book. The man who was found dissected had discovered his own light. They were able to see it on the other side of the valley. As the sky grew lighter, no one could remember its old name. They found pieces of light wherever they went. It made them remember every step. They returned the light when there was no one else to share it with. Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks.
Lovely work.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to turn it over to another regular now, John Wessick, a fiction author and poet. John, what are you reading for us today?
Oh, I got maybe three for you. You may know that I had some surgery to cut a benign tumor out of my neck, and this sort of affected some of the nerves in my face and a little bit of my speech too. And hopefully it's not permanent, but here are a couple things about that. My tumor recited poetry at open mics from Britain to Australia. Its tongue fluid as quicksilver, it would shout for emphasis or draw the audience in with a whisper. Although benign, the MRI showed it eyeing an AR-15. Better cut it out, the surgeon said. On its last feature, my tumor used the microphone once held by Carolyn Forche, Martina Spada, and Naomi Shihab Nye. Now my tumor sits in a test tube and my mouth is full of glaciers. Numbed lips struggle to wrap around words while somewhere in a hospital basement, after all the centrifuges have gone still, a clump of mutant cells sings. And here's another one here. Something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I looked both ways before entering. Except for a busker with a guitar, only the usual students, hipsters, and homeless treaded the Cambridge sidewalks. The bank's foyer was empty except for two brushed steel cash machines. Fluorescent lights cast a purplish glow over the counter and the paper receipt someone had left behind. I was probably imagining things, satisfied I slid my bank card into the slot. My minor surgery had gone well. I didn't even need the Percocet for the pain, so I flushed them down the toilet without a thought about what the opioids did to the sea creatures downstream. To celebrate, I was going to hit the raw bar at the Little Donkey before my improv class. The restaurant knew how to do it right. King crab, little neck clams, oysters on the half shell, and tuna tartare. I could almost smell it. The machine beeped and I took my cash. Give me your money. A mugger with a gurgling voice stuck something sharp in my back. It was hard to tell, but the weapon seemed to have 2 points. The lobby behind locked glass doors was empty, so no help was likely to come from the bank staff. If I pivoted, swept my arm, and applied a wrist lock, I might disable the mugger, but it would be risky. $100 wasn't worth a trip to the emergency room. I handed over the cash. The door banged as my attacker fled. I turned in time to see an SUV slam on the brakes to avoid plowing into a 6-foot lobster dashing across Massachusetts Avenue. His shell was bluish green, and each of his legs ended in Asics running shoes. The half-dozen guys beatboxing for tips outside the liquor store paid the larcenous crustacean no mind as he scrambled down the concrete steps to the T station. Yep, we've seen an uptick in robberies by sea creatures lately, Officer Brimley said. He had unkempt hair, a toothbrush mustache, and a belly that hung over his gun belt. A blob of cocktail sauce shaped like a sea urchin stained his khaki shirt. The police station was empty except for the two of us. Wanted posters of a gooey duck with gang tattoos and a shark with teeth rotted by meth hung on the poster board. People been flushing opioids down the toilet. Fish get a taste for it and have to steal to support their habit. Crustaceans are the worst. Hell, the DEA just sees 1,000 kilos of Mexican brown at the aquarium, but it didn't make a dent. Drug runners smuggle it in bluefin tuna. Your money's long gone by now. Is there anything I can do to protect myself? I asked. I got a little something right here. Officer Brimley lowered his voice and leaned close. Old Bay Magnum. A few blasts of this will stop a giant squid at 30 paces. He handed me a canister. Keep quiet about this. Damn do-gooders on Beacon Hill want to limit civilians to drawn butter and tartar sauce, as if that will do any good. And I think I'll stop it there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, that was excellent. I'm not ready to go into combat with a squid personally, but I'm glad you've got it. You've got it for all of us, I think. Thanks, John. Next up is an irregular. We're very glad to have her here again this week. Ilari Pass. Ilari, do you have something to read for us this week? I'm hitting ask to unmute. Hit it again.
Sorry
There we
about that. Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see everybody again. I just have a couple of poems. One of them, I'm going to try to save the best for last. It's translated from Arabic to English. So I'm just going to try to go for broke on that. So the first poem I'd like to read is called Octopus. This is the one road that goes everywhere. Never turn your gaze. There will be signs. You walk it and think, to get someplace this is how the mouth will curve. Sourcing for inspiration will lead you down an endless, unwinding path. It gets boring, provides fun, gets you tensed, makes you sigh. You take more steps to the language of sighs. Walk more lengths on and on and on. Book is no good. A mystery like an octopus, but without the grace. No matter how much you want to love them, men are awful. And then last but not least, this is called On My Way to the Cancer Center. Hello. Hello.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, it
Yeah.
went frozen for a minute. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Okay. On my way to the cancer center. Okay, first is going to be in Arabic. Aw la at na alam tor fi España tuskuru fi alham kuru yamatana kulaha biyafha laru yat la yahum marzi tat yaru. Now for the English. Oh no, I wish the rain in Spain stays mainly on the plain could rhyme with Arabic. No matter, I'm still a lady. That's it.
That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We've missed you.
Missed you too.
I think Jonathan's just come back from in between land.
Okay. I don't know what happened there. Did it freeze for you guys too? Did it freeze up for you guys?
No,
Yeah.
it was okay for me. It did a weird kind of Jonathan freeze, I think.
Okay, yeah, it froze up for a minute. I was like, oh, I hope everybody heard me.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right. Sorry, I missed your reading, Gloria. My connection did drop out, but I'll see it on the recording, I suspect. Okay, Dan Raphael was here earlier, but I'm not sure. I think maybe he got dropped as well. Oh, good. I'm glad it was read in Arabic. That's good to see. I think Dan got dropped. All right, next up is Wendy Taylor Carlisle, a amazing poet whose books include The Mercy of Traffic and Discount Fireworks. Wendy, do you have something for us today?
I do. Because the world is so unbelievable right now, or America is so unbelievable now. I have escaped to fairy tales. And I'm going to read a couple of those, 2 fairy tales and perhaps a nursery rhyme. Fairy tales now. Don't use the word tower or the word magic. Don't mention grandmother, stepmother, roses, or red lips. Don't say tragic. Don't describe the woods or throw their braid out the window. Never climb a vine or a glass mountain. They could have a vampire, but they never talk about the river unless somebody drowns. And then this is Briar Rose. Briar Rose, you know, is an alternate Sleeping Beauty fairy tale in which the young woman is put to sleep and briars grow up around the castle. And the prince who gets her is the one who can cut down the briars. So that's your backstory. Briar Rose. It happened more than once in that time between birth control pills and AIDS. It happened over and over, although it's a struggle to remember any of them. Those exquisite boys with their hands in the briars, the young ones with knives, the serious ones in ties, the princes in Levi's, all of them bringing their several and various gifts of flesh, their heat and beauty, their praise from their castle to yours, the frightened ones carrying lack under their tongue like a lead penny. The empty ones come to fill you up with lies. The witchy ones, they're wooing like the 13th fairy's curse, all of them crowding the hedge around your heart with their shears, their crazy desire, and you, cursed to sleep a spell with them while you waited for something you had been promised was love. And then this is just a silly poem that I particularly love. Hey, diddle diddle, all the cows up there. Really? Did you think there was just one jumping over the moon? Bovines have a cosmic disposition. Cow astronauts all day chewing like factory machines, the grass moving from stomach to stomach, becoming cud. All night, atmosphere to troposphere to space, leaping and leaping, coming back to their jobs as milk or rib roast or camembert or nursery rhymes, but always touched, remembering how their udders floated weightless in the vacuum above the moon. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Very cool. Well, we'll have to look out for the cowstronauts in the future. Yeah, thank you so much. That was wonderful. All right, next up. Wow, what do you say about Gloria Mendock, the editor and engineer and genius behind Savannah Barbara Press, doing so much for Somerville's literary scene. Gloria, will you read for us today?
Yes, thank you. I have 2 short poems. The first one is called Earth. The earth is up to it again, rotating into darkness, no memory of daylight. The sea opens its mouth, waves crash on the shore. Darkness is always slippery, daylight solid. The heart knows the boundaries of both. There is always another side to things. Sometimes we belong to each, not sure what direction to take. Everyone is wet and cold. Dryness will not happen without a towel. Sometimes you have to approach things differently. Fall in love with the edge. And the second one is called Disaster. I suffer many woes, not serene, but impossible. Always on the edge, crashing into you, plunging with force for your heart to welcome my disaster. My life floats in fragments. I try to grab them, you absent, me surrendering to my fate. No tears, only clouds breezing by, chauffeuring me away, where I dream of you, lips quivering for a moment in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. That was wonderful. So we are missing a number of the people who signed up today. So if someone else wants to sign up, just hit us up in the chat. I'm watching it. And yeah, if you'd like to read a couple of pieces, we would love to hear from you. Okay, I don't think Harvey Sauce is here. Let me double check. Nope, and C. Derek Varn isn't here. All right, let's hear from Toby Heller. Toby Heller is a poet and a fiction writer, and a fabulist. What do you say, Toby? What does one call a writer of fables?
Fabulous stories, yeah, or surreal, slightly surreal. They cover some ground. I hope.
Excellent. What do you have for us today?
Well, I have a poem, and I can read another if there's time from one of my books. Okay, this poem is actually one piece of a 4-piece longer poem called Fragments, and Jonathan published the second in the series, and this is the first. I just want to tell you who Daniel Dennett is, in case you don't know, because he's mentioned in this poem. Daniel Dennett is a philosopher and a cognitive scientist whose work I find very interesting. And so this poem is sort of to and about to him, sort of. It's called One After Another. Number 1, there is no zombie problem, Daniel Dennett says. It's a philosophical ghost in the bucket. Souls and evolution, an incremental self-built whosis begun 4 billion years ago from a single cell. No builder, time stretched into matter. Number B. Quote, it is especially important that you check the water chemistry at least twice a week, maintain a pH balance between 7.4 and 7.8, and that you keep the lid off and the water circulating for at least 10 minutes after adding chemicals, end quote. Number 2 a.m. The wind's a scour maiden, lamb breeze or thunder blow, it's all the same to her. Expect no favors. Number 14 in here. My left hip is the inorganic one. Also, my left hand wants to hold an uninvented tool, refuses frippery. My right foot, you can't shut her up. Number 2 to the 10th. Bluebeard and Pandora, eternal twins of the key. Number no. Don't be fooled by language. It's a Cheshire cat with 1,000 stories between its teeth, sitting on a treeless limb. Once you've fallen for it, the world becomes a place not like a cradle ever again, though the popularity of hammocks proves we all suspect something at some point. Number X. Names change. Once upon a time was Precambrian, but the living tree of all, see Dan above, keeps growing. We're fireflies in the leaf cloud. Number next. See through thought into puzzle, a galactic cat's paw, swift as mountains. Backbone story wanders. Pass go, return to starlight. Number yes. When I say heart, I mean rock. I mean stream. I mean you. I mean this moon coming up, brim cup now. That's one. And this is from a book called Aqueduct, written actually quite a while ago. The whole book is about water in one form or another, and which seems quite right now, since where I live, we're facing no water, absolutely no water coming out of our taps next summer if something doesn't happen. The whole of Northern California where I live is facing drought. So this is called, it's in 4 little sections. It's called Film Splice. Well, the first part is called Film Slice. A gun grows into our hero's hand, flesh, bullet, meat, clings, kill metal fingers. Weapon mind makes manifest molecular cyber river image into actual. The target mind's a bomb, heart ticking. Don't finger that remote control, murder's right-handed home. He wonders if his handgun hand is real, which means it is. Check your ticking hands. Not a matter to be subsumed. Eaten will make you vomit, or at the very least, travel tract and labyrinth, undigested, glowing shit. Cleaning up is like the matter of the spot, pure and simple. That's not the way of it. Blood's indelible, sight for sore eyes, over and over, blood's thicket. This won't slip out or in, fit fiddle, gets only ghostly quiet, appears again in dreams, although it's simply factual. Mornings arrive. These 4 fingers, thumb, all those nerves, fine muscles, fine enough to thread the neutron's needle, empty, palm held open, broken lifeline. Out of pressure, the world's perpetual commotion, byproduct of the force that binds, bound by the force that flings apart. Protean strings, clusters, webs of the original spiders, phosphorus crying out, her thicket river. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Very cool.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. Lawrence Welsh does not appear to have made it here today. So next up is Leslie Prostermann. Leslie's an irregular here at Lit Balm. And yeah, Leslie, would you like to read for us today?
Yeah, I'd love to. And thanks, Jonathan and Cassandra and Mark and everybody. God, it's great to hear your poems. So I have 3 poems, not too long. The first one's a prose poem called Until Now. And these are all from a manuscript I'm working on called Love and Then Tomorrow. Until now. Until the beginning, until waiting, until birdsong of pronouns, until the calling in of the helpers, of a branch of cream of wheat, until the morning and groundlessness, until the inside of the words, of pale coral of spit, outside of the spit, a bowsprit of land under the bluest sky, until the helpers arrive, until the frying of salt and of lines. Pause. Until distance. Inside fear until too close. Until love scratches the heart. Inside a sepia swirl in the slate and then skating. Plaster and lathe of making. Until is, which is different than waiting, until the first floor, until candle wax and aspire, flame inside age, inside grace notes and the spurting of grackle, inside a continuation of bells. Yesterday, another yesterday, links with the biosphere, until an aid of spirit, until new green, until a wave of plum, pale and strong, then circles into bird again, reverse to twirl, until, advance against time until wrong, until haymow, until horse, until hedgerow, until just right, until right now. The second one is called Oxidize. Oldest crab with veins running copper down ancient roads that spread me into your secret, joyful places. You hold my eyes, my quick, you crack me up. Open our sweet flaked flesh. Rock our hearts not too gently all over the ocean floor. Your hidden spiral gouty spools blue to me, liquid true. What turns us over infuses this minute, and this one, and this one. And this one confuses you, and you like it. God, how we like it. Sparkling up into air out of the buried segments of tender and scuttle. Change my valence. I am willing for this, what that renders me liquid, spilling over the sands to which we have returned for months and years. Coming onto the shore, you clover me back, you drizzle honey-rich lines of verdigris onto my below of sea. We turn over to face ourselves, stir out of our shells, pour into the long tides. We finally claim years of now. Your element is one of the few whose natural color is other. Consume me more whole than I ever was before. We are both ancient. We are both molting. We reveal soft, spongy center down to the surface, open to the sky. We reveal more we ever were now. I think I'll just leave the next one until another time. Thanks.
Leslie, that was amazing. Thank you. I love those. All right, next up is Patricia Kerrigan. Patricia, let me unmute you. I know we have like a dozen mutual friends in the real world. Have we ever met in the real world?
Yeah, I think we did. I'm not too sure. You know, everything with COVID is like
Right. Who knows what life was like before that?
another lifetime. Okay. Thank you. I have two poems here, music related. I do a lot of music related poems, and these are all inspired by Billie Holiday. For all we know, I knew you from another incarnation, or was it several? Over time, I've become too many people and lost count. In my teens, imagination took time to mature and understand the grown-up script written by yin versus yang. I had ash-tinted hair that grew past slim shoulders, bumblebee frames that cruised down my nose, a pale pink smile that believed in the future, skinny legs that danced on the micro minis. Along secluded Bronx trails near the river's ripples, not far from 6-story fortresses and my room's lemon-colored walls. We were children inside an antique green frame under an Alice in Wonderland mushroom. We were children coming of age inside my world of make-believe. You loved Billie Holiday, hummed her songs whenever we met. For all we knew, you understood love's techniques better than this novice. Asked me to drop my towel or unbutton my blouse. Your pencil tried to sketch the woman inside the child, but it never happened. I said no, thought you were like the rest until now. Sometimes regrets find peace, go to a better place. But the pain inside this antique frame rests upon this shelf. Solitude. Solitude plays film noir. The haute couture wears despair like satin pumps. She is Marlene Dietrich. Elegant black feathers cast a veil across her face. Solitude walks beside me, extends in sunlight, moves inward at night. She is like me, can't survive without mutual support. She sits beside me, explains that not all firestorms are alike, that dark rainbows come in various shades of lies and abuse. Billie Holiday sings a silent prayer for you to return. The stillness of the room collides with the one within. A storm brews between the past and present. Am I going crazy, hearing voices hum as memories haunt the night? The room is not the same, and the gap between logic and absurdity make this room smaller than it is. Thank you.
Wonderful, Patricia. Thank you so much. Those were
Yeah.
fabulous.
I used to have red hair long. That's why I guess you recognize me.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. We have met. All right. Sorry. Okay. Next up is one of our favorite Lit Balm regulars, Cindy Hochman. Cindy, what have you got for us today?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can. We can.
Since several of you have been brave enough to share some poems about your various struggles with illnesses, I decided to read my poem Snippets. It has to do with my 2005 cancer. I had breast cancer. I had surgery, chemo, and radiation, the whole bit. I'm still here to tell the tale. I wrote a poem about it. I haven't read it in a long time. It's in my second chapter called The Carcinogenic Bride, which was about my cancer and my divorce, which happened around the same time. Bob Heman did this amazing collage for it. He also published this poem in Clown War, his publication. So let me read it. Snippets. News like, and it's a prose poem. News like this is always a 10 on the Richter scale. From epicenter to aftershock, everything I owned fell off the shelves. Funny how my walls did not come tumbling down too. When you're nervous and small, everyone wants to shield you, but this one shook my bowels in 3/4 time. I had to banish all the C words from my thesaurus. No more coughing, catastrophe, or coffins. Here, take my C name. From magna cum laude to San Marco to chemo, this sure has been an oblong year, or maybe we should just call it a slightly pregnant pause. And suddenly, all the vials of my youth have come home to roost in megadoses. Life is obviously not a bowl of Viagra, and we don't accept simultaneous emissions. Can you handle a hornet's nest? When people speak of this as a battle, I picture myself in the ring of the Colosseum with a wild boar and a fine Greek chorus. Somebody's going to be gored or cured. I can see my corrugated tongue has left everybody squirming. Good, that is what the poems are here for. But what can you say when there's no more mercury left in your mouth? I always manage to rub saline into everything, but even salt water is not a reasonable facsimile for sperm to fill these fluidless sacs. Everybody needs a wet connection. This is about what happened to my body. Sometimes the soil stagnates and sometimes things grow where they ought not grow. So why be euphemistic? I refuse to hide under my hat and pallor. Let's fill this poem with rakes, hoes, and plenty of spades, ad nauseum. And speaking of which, I'm stone cold nauseous, but these days there's not much to vomit over. Now is the time for books, sabbaticals, and hibernation. The Pope is dead, but no one told me to put my papers in order. This is a no panic zone. If you park it here, your anxiety will be towed away. And I have one short thing to read. Because I was so nice to Bob in my intro to snippets, I figured I'd read a poem that'll annoy the crap out of him. He doesn't like this poem very much. You may not either, it's only 2 lines. Mythological porno poem. I used to sleep with the great god Apollo, but all he ever wanted was oracle sex. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, that was amazing. Very cool. Okay, one last chance if anybody wants to put their name in the chat room and sign up for the open mic. We've got one more chance to do that. And if not, we'll be closing with Michael Folds. Michael, I know I have heard Michael's bio. I don't remember Michael's bio. So maybe he'll introduce himself. Michael? I had asked to unmute. Okay, there we go.
I think I got it. I'm Mike Foldas, and I'm generally involved with business. I sell medical electronics. A couple of weeks ago, I was out drinking and eating with a friend. We had quite a lot. In the middle of the night, I woke up with some kind of chest pains and experienced my first big hit of AFib, which was quite a trip. But a week later, I was in Greece, and it was pretty nice there. It hadn't rained in quite a long time. One afternoon, they promised the clouds would break, but they didn't. I ended up writing this little poem about that. It's called Imaginary Rain. In Greece, the streets awash with the rare rain, schoolgirls in their red galoshes grinning, the scent of myrtle wafting, tears of angels splashing. I'd never smelled myrtle before right off a tree, so it's kind of a trip to smell that. This poem is called Wilding, and we went wilding one day and ran across a dead soldier who said in no uncertain terms, the idiom of war persists, but you do not have to. We went wilding one day and came upon a ruined city, standing not so tall in the wind that blew its embers to the sky. One day we went wilding and found ourselves alone in a field of bloody soil where the only things that grew were wildflowers. Threw our bodies into it with what little remained of what we stole. Where you walk is where we ran, remembered now more than a wave in a sea of shame, washing up on a nearby shore. We went wilding one day, found ourselves as men asleep, no more, no less than sheep, oblivious to the abattoir. We went wilding one day, villainy, our first and last desire. And that's that. I'd read it in Hungarian, but I'm not very good at the pronunciation.
You wrote it in Hungarian?
No, but Paul Sohar did a translation.
Cool.
And so I've worked on it, but not enough to share.
Gotcha.
So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about getting your last name wrong. And as I'm
That's
sure
okay.
you're aware, you have the coolest background in the room. So we're all delighted to see your basement office there.
Oh, that. Yeah, I have been down here for 30 years, so it's managed to collect quite a few odds and ends, mostly odd.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to let people unmute themselves now, and I think that's our show today. Cassandra, Mark, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, certainly we should talk about the upcoming shows. Next week we have a very important show, which is the Poetry on the Move Festival on Spotlight on Canberra in Australia, which will feature Kimberly Williams, Jan Webb, Paul Munden, Shane Strange, Gemma Nethercote Way, and Paul Hetherington. Cassandra, anything more to tell us about that show?
No, it's some of the brightest kind of poets in Australia get together and have a wonderful kind of audience and time, and lots of poetry discussions and wine in bars that we can't do on Zoom at 7 o'clock in the morning, but it'll still be loads of fun. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, and then the weekend after that, we have a beautiful show lined up also, which includes Mervyn Taylor, Sarah Cahill-Hill-Maron, Jennifer the Rathburn, and Indran Amathiagam. And of course, on October 30, we have a Halloween party.
Hooray!
Please, everybody, come in costume. This is a special horror poetry night, emceed by F.J. Bergman, who is my managing editor at Mad Hat Press, but also has had many official functions in the Science Fiction Poetry Association, which includes lots of people who write about werewolves and stuff like that. So please do come to that. And then, of course, tonight I'd like to thank all of you wonderful people who came to the open mic in honor of Paul Sexton. I won't name all names, but I will say that in honor of Paul, I'm going to read a very short prose poem by Francis Panget, where my opinion is one of the best. The oyster. The oyster is about as large as a medium-sized pebble, but rougher looking and less uniform in color, brilliantly whitish. An obstinately closed world which, however, can be opened. Grasp it in the hollow of a dishcloth. Use a chipped, not too sharp knife. Then give it a few tries. Prying fingers cut themselves on it and break their nails. Crude work.
All right, there, I got enough.
I don't know what that was. Crude work. Blows mark its envelope with white circles, sorts of halos. Inside, a whole world, both food and drink, under a firmament, strictly speaking, of mother of pearl. The heavens above, sinking onto the heavens below, form a mere puddle, a vicious greenish sack fringed with bluish lace that ebbs and flows in your eyes and nostrils. Sometimes, though rarely, a formula pearls with its tenacious throat, which is immediately used as a personal adornment. And that was translated by C.K. Williams. Thank you everyone so much for a wonderful night. And yeah, in honor of Paul Sexton, let us make sure his poetic spirit rises and falls everywhere across the planet tonight. Thank you so much.
Mark, thank you, Cassandra.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Love and
thank you,
poetry.
Jonathan.
Good night.
I'm gonna try
Thanks,
and come
everyone.
here more often. Yeah. So
Love and poetry and oysters.
yeah, that's good.
Bye.
Oysters are good.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
You guys,
Bob.
take
Good
care.
night.
Good
Or
night.
good
John.
morning if you're in Australia.
Exactly.
Have some Vegemite.
Yeah. Good night. Good morning.
Okay, good night. Hey, Leslie.
These days it doesn't
Hey,
matter.
Jeff, you didn't read.
When
Jeff didn't
together.
read. Jeff,
I don't know if it's morning or night anymore.
I don't know, since
Hi, Bob,
COVID.
Cindy, Patty, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Leslie, what a great group. Wow.
Thank you. I have Brownstone Poets
Lit
on the
Balm
30th.
rocks.
Yeah, I have Brownstones on the 30th.
Balm is the
From
best.
2 to 4:30. I just put it up, posted and all that stuff, so. When is this Halloween party?
5 p.m. Eastern, same as our regular
Yeah,
shows.
yeah,
on the
hopefully
30th.
you'll get out on time and see it, because, you know, I have my reading series.
Yeah.
Brownstone.
All
Yeah.
right.
You
I'm
have
pulling the plug.
Jeff Cottrell readings, Caroline, oh God, who are these people? My brain is going, I'm frazzled. Emira, Mitra. Ron, you know these people, yeah. Emira, Mitra reading. We have Caroline Di Giovanni, she's from Canada, and also Jeff Cottrell. I'm gonna have 2 Canadians reading for me. And 1 New Jersey person. So we're gonna